Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
A few moments later.
We do have breaking news tonight, a deeply divided moment playing out in American history as we come on the air. President Trump has just been impeached on both Article 1, abuse of power, and on Article 2, obstruction of Congress. The votes down party lines as predicted. And all day long here, we've been watching the short bursts of anger, the closing arguments from both sides. Democrats arguing the evidence was clear, arguing the president used the power of his office for personal and political gain with this election. Cuts have wanted this since day one. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who repeatedly resisted impeachment, changing her mind after that call with the president of Ukraine, saying the president gave us no choice. Just before the vote tonight, Republicans warned of partisan battles to come and future impeachment fights. But a short time ago, President Trump was impeached with the president on stage at a rally in Michigan tonight, a remarkable split screen. This is all fast moving, and we have it all covered, beginning with Mary Bruce. She's live up on the Hill for us. Mary?
The impeachment trial of President Trump is now underway. And today we saw accusations and anger on the floor of the Senate. Democrats are charging the Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, with orchestrating a cover-up, saying he is trying to force senators to hold the trial late at night when Americans won't be watching. Well, tonight, McConnell is backing down after objections from several moderate members of his own party as Democrats continue to push for witnesses to be allowed to testify. It really was an extraordinary day of public debate and behind-the-scenes maneuvering in a place that likes to call itself the world's greatest deliberative body. Chip Reed leads off our coverage tonight from Capitol Hill.
The impeachment debate began today before the Senate even convened.
McConnell's resolution is nothing short of a national disgrace.
Democratic leader Chuck Schumer lambasted Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's plan to cram 24 hours of opening arguments for each side into just 2 days, forcing much of the debate to happen after midnight.
He pushes the arguments into the wee hours of the night so American people won't see them.
The Senate will convene.
But shortly after Chief Justice John Roberts gavelled in the trial, the Senate clerk surprised almost everyone.
For a period of time not to exceed 24 hours over up to 3 session days.
Yes, a new plan, 3 days instead of 2 for each side. McConnell agreed to make the handwritten change after some Republicans, including moderate Susan Collins of Maine, expressed concerns. McConnell also gave in to a Democratic demand that all impeachment evidence compiled by the House automatically becomes evidence in the Senate trial.
We also have brand new CNN polling breaking right now, which shows nearly half of Americans support the impeachment of President Trump. 47% say President Trump should be removed from office. 45% are opposed to impeachment. Now, that is the highest level of support for impeachment we have seen in a CNN poll in a year, including after the Mueller report was released. And as CNN's Jeff Zeleny reports from Washington, the poll shows an increasing number of Republicans and independents now support impeaching President Trump.
Americans are now evenly divided on impeachment, with a notable rise among independents and Republicans supporting President Trump's removal from office. A new CNN poll just released finds 47% of Americans believe the president should be impeached, up from 41% in May. The change is not fueled by Democrats. Roughly 3/4 favor impeachment, as they did during our poll 4 months ago. But the support among independents has grown by 11 points and by 8 points among Republicans. For now, public sentiment is shifting. 45% of Americans oppose the historic move, down from 54% in May. A week after Speaker Nancy Pelosi opened an impeachment inquiry, she said Democrats would build their case on patriotism, not partisan politics.
Let us try not to make it further divisive, but we cannot ignore our oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The call for impeachment is resonating among younger Americans, the poll found, with 60% of those under 35 now in favor of removing Trump from office, compared to 43% who felt that way in May. The shift comes from within his own party. Among Republicans and GOP-leaning independents under age 50, support for impeachment has climbed.
Well, a new Fox News poll is out today, and it includes a question asking if President Trump should be impeached and removed from office. Mark Meredith has the details.
A new Fox News poll shows nearly half of the country feels President Trump should be impeached and removed from office, but those numbers are down slightly from early October. When registered voters were asked about their thoughts on impeachment, 49% said they supported impeachment and removal from office. That number is down from 51% a few weeks ago. 4% say the House should impeach, but that the president should remain in office. 41% say Trump should not be impeached. The president's senior advisor, Kellyanne Conway, says a majority of voters do not support the House's efforts.
This is not, as Nancy Pelosi pledged and promised it would be, Chris, a, quote, overwhelmingly bipartisan move toward impeachment that is supported by the public.
President Trump and some House Republicans have repeatedly called the impeachment inquiry a witch hunt, but a majority of voters Fox checked with found it to be a valid inquiry. 52% described the inquiry as legitimate. 39% called it bogus. The poll was taken just days before the House voted to approve formal.
You could call it a sunset impeachment. President Trump impeached for a second time with just days left in his term. That timing raising questions, a big one in particular. How do you have a Senate trial for an impeached president who's no longer in office? NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos shows us what's to come.
Donald Trump has now been formally impeached by the House of Representatives for the second time in his term, a first for presidents. Next, the articles go to the Senate, where the House will appoint managers to act as prosecutors, and the president does get his own defense counsel. And although the Senate does have rules of procedure for an impeachment trial, the Senate makes those rules, so it can unmake them if it sees fit. An impeachment trial kind of looks like a trial in a regular court, but not really. Both President Clinton's impeachment and President Trump's last impeachment were similar in that witnesses didn't testify in person, but rather by videotape. So in the sense there were witnesses, but not witnesses in the traditional sense in a courtroom. Another reason the Senate is able to make up rules as it sees fit is that the defendant in an impeachment trial doesn't have constitutional due process rights. A criminal defendant in the United States has certain constitutional due process protections. But the fundamental idea behind those protections are that if you deprive a defendant of life, liberty, or property, that defendant should have due process. In an impeachment trial, you're not depriving the president of life, liberty, or property, just his job serving the people. Now, in both the Clinton impeachment and the last Trump impeachment, both presidents were in office during the entire.
So as President Trump's impeachment trial starts to wrap up, you guys on social media had some questions about what you've missed, what's been going on, and where does it go from here?
Pursuant to the provisions of Senate Resolution 488, the Senate has provided for up to 4 hours of closing arguments equally divided between the managers on the part of the House of Representatives and the counsel for the president.
Since President Trump's impeachment trial started on January 16th, we've heard hours and hours and hours of both the evidence collected by House managers who are prosecuting this case and say that the president's conduct when it comes to Ukraine and holding this military aid was impeachable. And we've also heard hours and hours of the defense of why the president's attorneys say he held this aid and why it was not an impeachable offense. After hearing both cases by both the president's defense and also those House managers, we heard a lot of questions from senators. They had a total of 16 hours to ask any questions that they felt needed to be answered. The Senate also heard closing remarks from both the House managers and also the president's defense team.
What they're saying is basically, well, we have enough to prove our case. That's what managership says, but not really. So we really need more evidence, not because we need it, because we want it.
I think we can all see what's going on here, and that is, if the House wants to call witnesses, if you want to hear from a single witness, if you want to hear what John Bolton has to say,